Guys, I hope you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel and to my podcast. I'm so grateful that you guys are listening and downloading and subscribing. I really appreciate it that you're here on the Millionaire Hippie podcast. In this episode, I wanted to speak to you guys about something that's a little bit out there, this idea that I'm going to share with you guys. And I know that you probably going to think, as I thought when I first heard about this idea, that's a little bit insane and perhaps not true. But I really wanted to share this with you because this idea has been in my head and has been kind of changing the way I look at the world so intensely and so intently that I really wanted to share this with you. And as I've made a resolution to myself that, I'm not going to keep any crazy ideas from you just because they seem crazy. Let's go for this, okay? This idea is that the past, whatever the past might be, can be altered using our thoughts. The past can be altered using our thoughts. Consciousness can alter the past, which is something which is really insane. I mean, even if you consider the fact that quantum physics says that time is not linear and everything is happening all at once, if you consider that fact, which means that everything is happening at once, there's no past, there's no future, which means that, you can change the past because it's happening right now, and yes, you can change the future because also it's happening right now, right? For some reason, as human beings, we can imagine, yes, that thoughts create reality and we can alter the future by thinking about it right now. But for some reason, as a human being, it's very hard for us to consider that we can alter the past by thinking about it right now because it's the past. It's already happened. How can you change it, right? The book that really influenced me in this is called The Field by Lynn McTaggart, and she is brilliant. If you can ever listen to her recordings, or if you can spend some time reading this book, it's a really intense book to read. If you can spend some time reading this book, that would be amazing, man. You're going to get so much out of it. Basically, in that, they did a bunch of really interesting experiments that proved that human beings can change the past just by the power of their thoughts. It's actually really crazy. Just me speaking about this right now is giving me goosebumps. So I'll kind of explain to you guys what the experiment looked like. Basically, what they did was that, they had a bunch of deaths happen in the 19th century due to some plague or something like that, and they had a list of names of people who died, right? And so these people had already died in the past, and the researchers had a list of all of these names. What the researcher did was that they had a printout or like a photocopy of all the different names of all the people who had died, and it was on paper, it was written, there's nothing alterable about it, it's on paper. And so they placed it into the safe. They placed it into a safe. The only person who had the key was one of the researchers. No one else had the key. No one else could go in there and change the numbers or the names or the dates. And only one person had access to it, a person who didn't really know what the research was about, right? And so it was in there and it's there. And then the next part of the experiment was a really interesting part where they had volunteers come in. And the volunteers came in and they looked and they thought about, so they were told that these people had died in the past. They had died of whatever plague it was. And they were told to think positive thoughts about this person, think of these people, and to send them positive healing energy. To think that, they're well, they're doing well, they're healed, they're healthy, they're happy, they're good, there's nothing wrong with them, blah, 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 right? So they sent healing energy to them, just consciously. They didn't know who these people were. They were just strangers to them, but they were sending healing energies to these people who had died of the plague or whatever it was in the past, right? Very simple, very easy. And so that happened. The next part of the experiment really boggles the mind because this is where the really interesting stuff happens. It's like sci-fi, paranormal madness. The researcher who had the key, or the person who had the key, he went in and he opened the safe and he took out the sheet of paper with the people who had died in the past. And he noticed that the list of people who had died in the past reduced. So if you imagine there were 300 people who had died, perhaps, I'm just making up numbers here. If 300 people had died, he looked at the list of paper and there were perhaps 119 on that list now. So the number of people who had died in the past from the disease had reduced. The past had been altered. Now, I know you're probably sitting there and thinking, are you insane? This can't be actually true. Like, what are you talking about? I just can't believe it. This is not possible. Blah, 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 right? I know because I know I had the exact same thought. I read the book, and This is scientific research. It was done by researchers. It was done by experimenters. It wasn't done by random people sitting around doing random things. It was actually done by scientific individuals. And this lady who, Dr. Lynn McTaggart, she is brilliant, and she would not have shared it if she didn't actually believe in the efficacy of the research, right? So everything, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, this cannot be true. And I read it several times, and I think to myself, could this really be true? The truth is, the past is alterable. And that's the reason why this is such an exciting time for us to be alive. It's so exciting to be alive right now, because the past can be altered. Can you imagine a world in which if you had a past that you didn't like, that you could alter it? Now, I'm not saying that you can make immense changes where everything shifts around, the whole universe changes, and humans don't exist, and Big Bang doesn't happen, and things like that. I mean, maybe that's possible. But the thing that really excites me is that I can change the past in a way that I can become a different person right now. So even though in the past I used to be that impatient, crazy person, I can change the past by thinking about it and make myself be a completely different human being, not only in the present, but in the future and also in the past. The more important thing with this, the more important idea that I wanted to share with you is not that the past can be altered using our thoughts. So if we were bankrupt in the past, we can change it and not be bankrupt anymore. But I want you guys to realize how ethereal and how fragile and how changeable and immutable everything that we know is, everything around us is. Because I feel like human beings have this thing where we think once something happens, it's set in stone, and if I am this way, if I was born this way, I'm like that for the rest of my life. And if I'm this way that right now, I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. And if I have this life, then I'm going to have this life for the rest of my life. We think that everything that happens is very unchangeable. It's set in stone. But these kind of ideas, these kind of experiments, these kind of thought experiments, intention experiments, consciousness experiments show us that not only is nothing set in stone, but in fact, everything that you can think of can be changed. Can you imagine if you can change the past in such an immense manner? People who had died and had illnesses are not dead anymore. I mean, you have to read the book in order to really get the gist of the entire essence of it. But if you can imagine that, if you can imagine how powerful consciousness is, we have not just been placed here randomly to watch Netflix and live away our lives making money and buying stuff. If that was really the case, why would the universe and consciousness and this world work so hard to make Earth, to make these conditions viable for life, for consciousness to exist? So much had to happen. Millions and billions of permutations and combinations of the right conditions had to happen in order for us to be here right now, for you to be here and for me to be here right now. Why would the universe bother with all that stuff unless there's an absolute necessity for it to happen? The universe it tends towards chaos. It tends towards laziness, if you can imagine. Nothing happens that doesn't need to happen, right? And so if it has happened, if we are here, if the consciousness is here, if we're here facing the world, making things happen, being here, being alive, and there's a reason for it, right? And these kind of thought experiments, these kinds of intention experiments, these kind of things that kind of, boggle my mind and open my mind up in a way where I'm just thinking that there's so much more to this world than I imagine, they make me realize that there's so much more to the world than I imagine, right? I mean, we sit here and we think, okay, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to make money and I'm going to do this and that's it. But that's not what life is about, right? That is not what life is about. There is so much more to it. Right? And these kind of ideas and thoughts are the ones that really open up our minds. Those are the things that really show us that there's so much more to life than just this. There's so much more to life than just me sitting here pontificating on these thoughts. The reason I'm sharing this with you probably is because you needed to hear this. There's so many people on this planet right now, I feel, that have lost their sense of meaning and purpose. There's so many people on this planet right now who are going about like zombies, pretending like they are not this powerful, amazing consciousness that is in the world for a reason. They pretend like they're just here to reproduce and consume, which is not the reason that we're here. I mean, that might be one of those reasons, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more to our consciousness. We're not just here for minutia. We're here for so much more, so much bigger, we're so much more powerful than we realize or give ourselves credit for. And these kind of ideas, when I read these books, when I get these kind of ideas in my head, that's when I really feel my power. That's when I really feel like I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful to see what happens with the future and my consciousness in the future. Now, I have shared this idea with you guys, and you're probably thinking that I'm a little bit insane, that I actually believe this. I can't believe that I believe this, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I can't believe I shared it with you, so I'm so grateful that I was able to, that I was brave enough to. But more than that, I really wanted to share this idea with you because I want you guys to realize your power. So many of us are living as if we're powerless on this planet, as if we're not full of meaning, as if we're not full of purpose. I want you guys to realize that you are more powerful than you can ever imagine. You're bigger than you can ever imagine. You have more power and consciousness at your fingertips than you can ever imagine. And please start believing that and using that in order to create the world in the way that you want it to be created. You are the ultimate power in that. You figure out how you want your world to look, and that's how the world's going to be. You're not powerless. You are not powerless at all. Again, I hope this makes sense to you guys. If you guys have any questions at all, please message me anytime. My email is boomshikha@themillionairehippie.com. I'd love to hear from you guys about this topic. What do you guys think about it? If it resonated with you, if it didn't, please do read the book, The Field. It's amazing. It's absolutely fascinating. And I shall see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.